March Madness is officially here, with many of the conference tournaments wrapping up over the past few days. We've already seen some crazy upsets and game winners, notably Miami's come-from-behind thriller against Louisville and Kentucky's brilliant upset over national championship favourites South Carolina. The action has been simply brilliant so far. With the official March Madness tourney featuring 68 Division I teams starting in just a few days, I thought I'd make a fun prediction video about some things I could see happening in this wild tournament. So in today's video, I'm going to be telling you 4 bold predictions that I have for the upcoming 2022 March Madness Women's Tournament with reasoning behind them. For those who don't know, a bold prediction is an outlandish statement that sounds ridiculous, but there is a possibility it could come true, which makes it bold. So if some of these sound a bit crazy to you, it's intentional, as they are meant to be audacious, but at the same time, I will try to keep them somewhat realistic. Again though, don't take this video too seriously, these are just some fun predictions. Before we start, if you're new here and enjoy the video, be sure to subscribe. For more women's basketball content like this, I'd love to reach 2,000 subscribers on this channel, so all support would be greatly appreciated. Anyway, with that being said, let's get right into these bold predictions. Number 4. UConn fight through the adversity and make another Final Four. In any other season, this wouldn't be a bold prediction at all. The UConn women's basketball program is by far the most storied in all of the NCAAW, and with a current streak of 13 appearances to the Final Four, it would be wrong to suggest this team couldn't do it again. However, this has been no ordinary season for the Huskies. Facing enormous adversity as the team dealt with major injuries to the stars like Paige Beckers, Aubrey Griffin, AZ Fudd and Nika Mule, the Huskies have not been their usual dominant selves, consistently ranked outside the top 10 in the AP poll. The team's unbeaten streak in conference play ended with Villanova upsetting them in the regular season, and the Huskies had extremely uncharacteristic poor play throughout the season, but especially in those first couple of games after Paige went down. However, since then, there has been enormous growth with this team. There is no longer that over-reliance on Paige to do everything offensively. This team plays hard and plays together, and the combination of their unique skill sets makes them a very dangerous team. Players from across the board have stepped up, whether that's AZ Fudd becoming more aggressive with ball in hand, Caroline Ducharme taking control of the scoring duties, Dorka Huhas and Olivia Nelson-Ododa developing into extremely talented playmakers, you name it. UConn have found a way to fight through the unanticipated harshness of this season. The team's defense is amazing compared to where it was. The offense is so much more dynamic and versatile, and to add Paige back into that gradually is a scary thought, especially as they go into March Madness at the peak of their play, likely the 2 seed in a bracket. Though Paige Beckers is still on a minutes restriction and probably won't be her true self for the rest of the season, her presence alone will be extremely important for UConn, so I think they've got her back at the right time. Don't get me wrong though, this is going to be difficult for UConn. There are a ton of teams capable of knocking them out earlier, especially those that have been healthy and dominant all season. This will be a lot more challenging than previous years. But in the end, all things considered, I have faith in the UConn squad that they can lift when it matters most. We saw a glimpse of that in the Big East tournament. So, considering the hardship of the season that they've gone through, now is the time to reward themselves for how they've persevered. So, because of that, I have the Huskies continuing their historic Final Four streak again in 2022. Number 3. The Louisville Cardinals disappoint and are upset early in the tournament. Now, this prediction is quite contradictory to a take I made just a couple of weeks ago, but I have changed my mind slightly on how I feel about this Louisville team. Louisville are an exceptional squad on paper and during games are usually an extremely well-balanced unit, normally finishing games with at least 3 players in double figures in scoring. However, a trend I've noticed with this team throughout this season that I kind of ignored after their impressive win versus Notre Dame is they do tend to play underwhelmingly on the big stages. For example, their big time choke against Miami in the AC tournament quarterfinals, or their collapse in the fourth quarter against NC State back in January, or their disappointing loss to UNC after destroying Notre Dame just a couple of days before. There are many other examples of Louisville looking vulnerable this season too, even in games they win. And to me, as we progress closer and closer to the March Madness tournament, they've seemed to get more and more vulnerable, not as much of a top dog threat like we anticipated them to be back in December. March Madness is called that for a reason. Crazy upsets happen. And to me, if any top 5 team in the country is most susceptible to being upset right now, it'd have to be Louisville. Certainly not in round 1, probably not the round of 32. But as a team that has Final Four ambitions, I think an early exit in the Sweet 16 is sadly a real possibility. Now, I won't be all negative on Louisville. Personally, they're one of my favorite teams to watch, and if the starters really get clicking, they're as good as a team like Stanford on any given day. But as someone who does enjoy seeing this team succeed, it has been frustrating to see them not really dominate as much as I feel they could have throughout this season, and especially in the Atlantic Conference tournament. So that's why I'm making this prediction today. There's a good chance it doesn't happen, that's why this prediction is bold. But I don't know, I just have a gut feeling that Louisville may not reach the expectations we have for them this March. Number 2. Caitlin Clark has a 50-point game. Since the turn of the new year, I don't think there's been anyone as consistently dominant as Caitlin Clark, maybe outside of Aaliyah Boston. As I mentioned in my most recent video, which you should go check out after this one by the way, Clark's scoring has been through the roof the past 2 months, making major leaps on her incredible freshman season. Through the months of January and February, Clark averaged over 31 points per game, and shot above 50% from the field and 42% from deep. Simply elite efficiency. And since the making of that video, she hasn't slowed down at all in the postseason, leading the Hawkeyes to another Big Ten Conference championship, including a 41-point performance in their win over Nebraska. This kind of play gives me reason to believe that Clark could be in for her first career 50-point game this tournament, especially in one of the 2 opening rounds against a lesser opponent. Clark has been torching the nets for months and seems to elevate her game when it matters most, so I don't think an insane outburst like this is completely impossible. She's already notched a career high twice this season, upgrading it to 46 points, so providing it's against the defense that suits her play style and she's having a good night shooting the ball, I think it's entirely possible we see a stunning performance from the growing legend that is Caitlin Clark in this March Madness tournament. Number 1. Kentucky goes on a deep run to the Elite 8. Kentucky shocked the world a couple of days ago, upsetting South Carolina in the championship game in the final 5 seconds. The loss was a big wake-up call for not only South Carolina, but the rest of the NCAAW, as Kentucky proved they are not a team you want to come up against when all cylinders are firing. As a team that's been in and out of the top 25 and now reside in 16th in the AP poll, as we approach the tournament, with momentum heavily on their side, I think it's very possible we see this hungry and energetic team go on a deeper postseason run than expected. There's a few reasons to why I think this. As I mentioned just before, Kentucky has all the momentum in the world going with them into the madness. The thrill and energy that comes out of a crazy championship run is huge, and it'll certainly help propel them towards shocking more people with a deep run. The Wildcats have also been winning a lot in general as of late, currently on a 10-game win streak. They're peaking at the right time evidently, and that momentum they're generating could help them surge into the Elite 8 as I predict. There's also a lot on the line for some of the players in this team that will motivate them further. Their best player, Ryan Howard, is in her final season and is the projected number 1 overall pick for the upcoming WNBA draft. A big outing in the postseason from her will help her all but lock up that #1 spot and erase any doubts about her ability and whether Nalissa Smith should go first overall instead. Finally, the Wildcats have proven they can pull off upsets, just as recent as their conference tournament. They were the 7th seed in their conference, yet still managed to knock off the top 3 seeds in their conference to win the title. It's been a very long time since something like that has been done, especially as a 7th seed. So, who's to say that the Wildcats can't keep winning games that they're not meant to? The confidence is certainly there with Kentucky, and I think the capability to win big games is there too. It's just up to them to do it all over again, and I have a lot of faith that they can do that and make it to the Sweet 16 at least, if not the Elite 8. So those are all my bold predictions I have for you today. What do you guys think of this? Do you agree with my bold predictions, or are they too outlandish for you? Let me know all your thoughts down in the comments below, and be sure to drop some of your own bold predictions for this tournament down there too. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave it a like and subscribe. But with that being said, I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.